Hey there, it's Jim Day. We're in the car and we're heading out to Sun and Farms out in Broad Acres. And we're going to be learning a little bit about what a farrier is and what a farrier does. I'm going to be straight up and say I really don't know much more than that they put shoes on a horse. But lady we're going to be talking to, very knowledgeable. I think we're going to learn a bit. And I have a feeling we're just going to start scratching the surface. So go ahead and enjoy that as we're driving out there. Love it. Beautiful weather for mucking around on a farm. All right, let's go. Jim Day here, and we are on the Sun and Farm here with Janice Chipman. We are going to be learning a bit about what a farrier is, a bit of the history. I'm going to tell you the truth. It's one of these things I don't know a whole lot about, which is why I actually got in contact with this lady. Actually came with high praise, quite knowledgeable. Thank you for meeting with me, Janice. I appreciate it. I thought maybe we'd just start with a little bit of a, tell us exactly what is a farrier, who calls on a farrier, and really how did you get involved in this whole thing?
Well, the farrier, if you go to the Wikipedia term, has to do with iron, but the modern day farrier includes use of epoxies, and basically it is tending to horses' feet. So you try to restore function or keep function in a horse so that they can perform well.
Okay, so it's a science basically of keeping the horse mobile, healthy. I saw a quote the other day. It said no feet, no horse, that sort of thing.
That is absolutely gospel. No hoof, no horse.
Oh, no hoof, no horse. There you go.
So if you don't have a foot to stand on, there's a lot riding on this animal, starting at the ground.
Okay.
So the modern farrier, which we're seeing quite a rise in the barefoot movement, is without the application of iron. We use a lot of epoxies and different kinds of shoes rather than iron.
Can you explain to us what an epoxy is?
Epoxy would be like a composite, polymer,
okay.
Plastics.
It's the evolution of iron.
Yeah, the evolution of iron in farrier.
Fair enough. I had actually did a little bit of research this morning, and I had discovered that the first hooving, I think the Egyptians took reeds and stuff like that and actually tied them around the horse's hooves to help with that.
Yes, because they use them predominantly as work animals and transportation.
Right.
And the modern farrier came from, I want to say, Europe, where they would stall the horses in the underneath the castle on the hard ground and the brickwork.
Oh, so even just resting, they needed to be able to have.
And so they applied iron to keep them up out of their own manure, because when they had to ride the big destriers and the knights wearing all that armor on the heavy horses in manure, that would erode the walls and stuff, and so they could hold the shape and they could go over ground without destroying the horse by that application.
I would imagine that could cause infection too.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And that's what I deal with nowadays, is the application of iron in the modern horse is becoming obsolete because we no longer use them in the same way. We use them more for recreation.
So it made sense to do this in the past, but today really we're not a society that uses horses.
Exactly. So we use it more as for enjoyment. It's a luxury item as opposed to a farming implement.
So who all is typically coming in do you do business with, and what kind of horses do you see?
Backyard owners, 4-H. I work with some championship reiners and some jumpers, just all facets of people that own horses. But
do you find most people know what they're doing with their horses, or do you feel like that often you have to kind of come in and educate about what's taking place? And
where the hoof is concerned, education is probably the most important piece, because people still do what is archaic. They think the shoe is necessary. However, it's not as necessary as it used to be. So.
Right, because we're not climbing around with heavy armors. And
right. That and the evolution. The evolution of the horse has changed as well.
Come walk with us, guys.
So I find that the things that worked in the past for horses was putting that iron on and stuff, but it does have a detriment. horses were commonly thought to be old by the time they were 12 or 13, and we're using horses like this one here. She's over 20 years old, and she's still in service. And my horses that I ride and use tend to live well into their 30s.
Okay, and that's because of good hoof care.
Good hoof care, difference in nutrition, the difference in the way we use horses.
Okay, right. So it's basically just understanding the horse in the way the world would change today.
Right, the evolution of the world.
A horse's life is different, the horse is different, all that good stuff. All right.
And now we have the out-of-bag experience. Feed is different.
Okay, everything. Yeah, we've really honed in, haven't we?
Yeah, we have.
Okay, so now you were telling me that I think a lot of people, they think about the farriers and is just thinking about shaving off or trimming the excess and doing so. But you were sharing that you actually get more into the pathology of the health of the full healing of the horse. Is this correct?
Right.
Share a little bit about that.
Well,
and how that would actually be different, say, from just a typical farrier that's going to come in and shoe your horse.
A typical farrier comes in and he will apply iron. Their science is that the wall holds up the horse. We know now that the barefoot segment and the science is emerging there shows that the entire foot holds the horse up, not just the wall. So there's quite a bit of conflict between the barefoot farrier and the standard old world farrier.
Okay, so and what do you think is the balance in that, or is there a balance, or is there one that's?
I think there is a balance. I think that that there is a place for shoes applied. Certainly reasons. If you have a broken coffin bone, you need to stabilize that foot.
Sure.
If you have loss of capsule height, like this horse is getting, the foot platters out, you'll want to trim the excess.
So it platters out meaning?
That the material, the bar material that shapes the back of the foot moves and it flares the wall out, and then it brings the bone closer to ground.
Okay.
And as that happens, you have very little distance between bone and ground.
I see.
So a quick solution for that is to put a shoe on temporarily and lift that off.
Right.
Off
So within
ground.
every step they're taking is grind. It's almost like if you lost the things in your hips or something, you're just grinding.
Right. And so a shoe is going to provide immediate results.
Okay.
Because as that happens, they can lose their heel, and it will change the bony alignment in their legs, which affects the animal.
Gotcha, right. Okay, so just like humans as well,
Yep.
like you're not standing right, it's going to affect your back, it's going to affect this, it's going to affect your
fascia changes, the muscles that hold you up are different.
Okay.
And so then,
and that would also then make sense. You were talking about the different polymers that you use.
Sure.
So you're going to use something that the horse needs. Like if the horse needs stabilization, but it doesn't necessarily need a really hard thing to be, that you might use something that's solid but gives a little bit more than metal.
The factors that change what you're going to do is, of course, what you're going to use it for, and the ground that you're going to work the animal on.
Okay, interesting.
If you're going to take the horse jumping and the terrain is really rocky, and vibration is not an issue, you can go with either an epoxy shoe or you can go with a standard shoe.
Okay.
But sometimes the ground in a barefoot horse that's been recently transitioned out of shoes is too hard for the horse to be able to ambulate correctly and jump over a jump and have that extra landing, not only with its own weight, but the weight of the rider.
Right, so it's finding that balance.
Yeah, it's finding balance.
It's finding the Birkenstocks for horses.
That's yes.
Okay, well that's very good. So I was going to ask a couple more questions and then I'll let you go here.
Sure.
We picked like the rainiest day that we could do this on, which actually is kind of cool because I like mucking around in the mud on a farm, so all works out.
The background is better than the day.
Oh, well, let's keep walking, yeah. So now, let's say just the average horse owner. I don't even know what the average horse owner would look like, but let's say the average horse owner. What are you going to say that they're really going to need to be aware about with the horse and the shoe and all that kind of stuff?
Trust yourself. Trust your gut. If you don't think something's right, get a second, third, fourth, fifth opinion.
Okay.
Your horse is talking to you all the time in the way that they move, in the way that they swish their tail, in the way that they approach you.
Know your animal.
And if something doesn't feel right, it isn't.
It's like driving a car almost. Like I feel like there's something strange here that seems
Something don't
off.
smell right, and you know, when I go in to evaluate an animal, I evaluate from the minute I step in to that animal's view. I'm evaluating everything about it.
Have you ever had to have a hard talk with owners and say, hey, listen, you're not taking care of your horse well?
Every day of the week.
Every day of the week. How is that
Every day of the
received?
week. Usually really well, because I don't tell them what they're doing wrong. I tell them what my experience is, and then I use the horse as proof.
Yeah.
If horses have like an issue with their gut, you can kind of run your hand or even your eye down the animal, and horses in a lot of pain will start to guard.
Okay.
Just like if you had, you know, if you were sore here and I came into your space, you'd be like, no.
Yeah, because you're going to be protecting that
Yeah,
thing.
and that's just it. And horses,
Know
they
your
talk,
animal.
they speak to you, they look at you, and just you have to not think of them as like a dog, because
Right.
they aren't a dog, and to approach them as what they really are, a herd animal, and you have to be quiet enough to learn to listen.
That's interesting. I really appreciate that. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. We appreciate Janice. Is there anything that you'd like to say to the crowd typically, or just to horse owners, to anyone?
Yeah, learn to see what you're looking at, and look very closely. And just when you think you've seen it, look even a little closer. I like to look at things all the way to the cellular level to prove that what I'm doing is working. And I don't think you can ever learn too much. So always be open and learning.
That's right. I think that's good advice for all aspects of life.
Thank
you,
you.
Janice. I appreciate it. All right. Let's. All right. Thank you.